Athletic sports can be very unpredictable. You never know if the game you're watching will be boring, exciting, or downright wacky. This is what makes them super fun to watch. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the weirdest moments in athletic games that were so strange they became a part of history. Can you guess which ones we're going to talk about? Let's start with Michaela Maroney's infamous meme face. Every active internet user has probably come across this meme at least once. But do you know the background of the expression? It's actually a pretty weird story that happened to Michaela Maroney in the 2012 London Olympics. Being a star gymnast, she was a popular contender for gold, and her coach was super confident in her ability to win. But her performance fell flat, literally, when she fell into a sitting position instead of sticking the landing during the women's vault final. But as awkward as that was, it wasn't as weird as her expressions were during the medal ceremony. After dropping to the second position because of her vault, she was caught on camera with a super unimpressed face that later became a popular meme in the internet's Hall of Fame. According to Maroney, it was a split-second reaction that wasn't even intentional, but the internet never forgets. And thanks to that, she even got to pose with Barack Obama, both of them pulling the same iconic face. That's the wholesome kind of weird that we all love. But not every weird moment's as good as this one, and our next incident in our list proves that, which is Jacobsen's crash in Poland in 2020. Yeah, that's the Rona year we're talking about. As if it needed to become any worse, the year also gave cycling athletics one of its most frightening incidents when in a fast finale at the Tour of Poland, Dylan Groenewegen shut the door on Fabio Jacobsen. This caused him to hit the right side barrier, which somehow flung him high into the air and exploded into multiple pieces. Thanks to this, the crash, which was already bad, turned into a terrifying one that could have cost us a great athlete. What's weird is that the event was going great until then. It was after the crash that the audience realized that not only was it shameful of Groenewald to shut the door on Jacobsen this way, but it's also about time that cycling got safer with its finishing lines, especially considering how the sport's been around for over a decade. But hey, even cycling events have had their moments, especially if you consider the next moment that was caught on camera. And it's the llama drama from Tour de France. Another wholesome but clearly weird incident that happened in the world of cycling was the appearance of this llama in the Tour de France cycling event. Of course, this isn't the first time an animal has made a special appearance on a cycling tour, but just the fact that this llama decided to stand so still and give its best to the camera is what makes this a weird yet iconic moment that lives in our head rent-free. But let's not forget the fierce athletic rivalry. Wholesome moments aside, the rivalries in the athletic world are not something anyone can forget, especially if they're as fierce as the one between Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan. Both figure skaters have made a name for themselves thanks to their unmatchable talent, but pit them against each other and you'll have two athletes who can go to any lengths to claim the gold, including causing an accident that shattered Nancy Kerrigan's knees. The accident was seemingly caused by a photographer who, it turns out, was conspiring with Harding's husband. Of course, this caused Kerrigan to bow out of the competition and led to Tanya winning that year. But as luck would have it, Nancy got her chance to fight back, as she won the silver in the Lillehammer Norway Games where Harding came in 8th. That's as weird a rivalry as any, and we wouldn't want to get caught in the middle of it anytime soon. There's also the bizarre history of race walking, which to date is one of the weirdest sports to have existed in history, especially in the Olympics. If you're aware of race walking, you'll know that it requires more discipline and balance than running or walking ever could. You have to keep your leading leg straight from the time it hits the ground till the time you lift it, and at least one foot should be touching the ground at all times. These two rules alone made the sport super awkward to compete in, and if you try to attempt it for even 5 minutes, you'll know how brutal it is, and seeing race walkers in action is a whole different experience. It's like watching a crowd of people trying to reach the nearest bathroom before disaster strikes. Not the most ideal sport to exist if you ask us. Maybe that's why it's not going to be part of the 2024 Olympics. Too bad for the race walkers though. It's not easy to fit a category to participate in if you're not good at running or simply walking. Guess they'll have to wait for their 15 minutes of fame to strike another time. Speaking of running though, have you heard of the cameraman who outran the athletes? At an event at China's Datong University, a student student recording the 100-meter race achieved a feat even the athletes couldn't. He literally outran them and became the star of the game, at least on the internet. The guy managed to keep up with the players with his 8-pound camera gear without breaking a sweat. We can't believe the university didn't give him the gold medal. He even looked back at the players to see if they were keeping up with him. That's got to be embarrassing. Imagine being outrun by a guy who's not even your competition. Sure, he wasn't the first or only cameraman to do this, but he's definitely one of the coolest. There's also the intentional cycling crash incident. There are times in games when players intentionally let go of a throw or pass for strategic reasons, but intentionally ruining a game just to get it to restart is a whole other case of crazy. And it happened in the 2012 Olympics in London, where British cyclist Philip Hindies crashed into the other participants so the game could restart. It's a common rule that races can be restarted if one of its riders suffers a mishap or accident, but it doesn't say anything that the cyclist has to make the accident happen. Hindies even admitted to crashing so the game could restart, but later changed his story to say that he lost control. What's crazier is that his team actually won the gold medal too. Sucks for the rest of the players. Then we have the botched Olympic opening in Sochi. There's no doubt that the Olympic opening ceremonies are some of the most elaborate events to exist, but considering the amount of money they spend on those events, you'd think their management would be up to par as well, right? This wasn't the case with the Sochi Olympics in 2014, where a technical issue led to the fifth ring of the Olympic logo blooming halfway. This made the logo seem super weird, with 4 rings and a small half-bloomed flower. And these are just some of the many weird Olympic incidents that have happened, including another incident from the Sochi Games where alleged members of the Russian Secret Service tampered with the drug test results of at least 15 medalists. Sounds like a weird James Bond movie, only Bond is a villain and tampering with the world order, or Olympic order. There was also the Queen's Landing with Daniel Craig in the 2012 London Olympics. We know it wasn't the real Queen, guys, but it didn't make it any less weird to see an actor impersonate England's monarch, landing from the sky with none other than James Bond. But the weirdest and most ridiculous moment in the Olympics history was from the marathon in the 1904 Games. You will not believe the combination of competitors they had in this game. First, there were 10 Greeks who had never run a marathon. Then there were 2 South Africans who ran barefoot. And then there was a Cuban athlete named Felix Caraballo, who was a former mailman who'd entered the Olympics by raising his own money. And if you think this combination is weird, just wait till you find out what happened to them during the marathon. Get this, one of the men was chased off the course by wild dogs. Another suffered a serious hemorrhage from the dust on the course that, wait for it, ripped his stomach lining. And the Cuban mailman? He stopped mid-marathon on the side of the road to eat some apples, only to find that they were rotten, which caused him such bad stomach cramps that he left the marathon to go nap under a tree. Who won, you ask? A runner whose cramps got so bad he had to hitch a ride with a passing car and go out at the finishing line to end the race, and ended up winning. So yeah, that's about as weird as it gets. And that's a wrap for this video. What's the weirdest moment that you've seen in your favorite sport? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.